Hi, welcome to 52 Weeks of Cooking. This week's theme is cruciferous. Now when we think of cruciferous vegetables, we think of broccoli and cauliflower, things like that, but did you know kale is also a cruciferous vegetable, and mustard greens are a cruciferous vegetable, and that's what we're going to be cooking with today as we make pickled mustard greens. Let's cook. What you'll need are mustard greens. Now the recipe calls for 2 pounds, but we are halving the recipe, so we're going to do 1 pound of mustard greens, chopped into sort of medium pieces, kind of about like that. Now I'm using European mustard greens because I like the sort of bite they have, but you can also use Asian mustard greens. Those are perfectly fine too. You'll need half a cup of sticky rice or sweet rice. Now you can find that in Asian specialty markets, but if you don't have one of those near you, jasmine rice will work just fine. We'll need 3 cups of water, about 1/8 of a cup of salt. Now I had an older female relative tell me never to use iodized salt when you're canning or pickling, so we are using sea salt for this recipe. You'll need about 1/4 cup of distilled white vinegar, and some herbs. Now, the recipe says 1 to 3 pieces of herbs, meaning 1 to 3 types of herbs. So we're going to use green onions, garlic, and I'm going to use a mixture of Thai chilies and habaneros because I really like to be able to clean my oven with my breath after I eat something like this. You'll also need a large glass jar with a lid. You'll need a weight. Now, we're going to use our sticky rice as a weight. So we're going to soak our rice and then we're going to keep the rice and use it as a weight. You'll need a cotton nut milk bag or cheesecloth. We're using cheesecloth and kitchen twine. Step 1, we're going to pour our rice into a large bowl, and then we're going to pour our water over the rice, and we're going to let that soak for about 20 minutes. Step 2, we're going to make our vinegar salt. So we're going to pour our 1/8 of a cup or 2 tablespoons of salt into our bowl, and then we're going to pour our 1/4 cup of vinegar into the bowl, and we're going to let that sit and let that salt dissolve. Step 3, we're going to basically bruise our herbs. We're just going to kind of, not cut it hard, you just want to kind of get a little bit of the oil to come out. And you're going to take, now you may do as you choose, you're an adult, you can make your own decisions. I always wear rubber gloves when I'm working with hot chilies because I once got hot chili on my fingers and then rubbed my eyes and it was really bad. So just going to smush them with the flat side of the knife just to break them open a little bit and get the oils to come out. Step 4 is to prep our mustard greens, to chop them and wash them and dry them. We've already done that, so we're going to move on to step 5, and that is we're going to massage the greens. We've got a couple of teaspoons of salt in here. We're going to sprinkle them over the greens, and we're just going to massage that salt in. You're trying to kind of break the greens down and get them wilted. This is going to take probably 2 to 3 minutes. So you can see the greens are starting to break down. They're reducing in size and they're starting to look kind of wilty, and that's what we're looking for, is nice wilted smushed greens. Step 6, we're going to put these greens in this jar to ferment them. And you want to pack these down. You don't want them to be too loose. And these greens have wilted down so far. I was worried they weren't going to fit into this jar, but now they're not even filling half of it, so there you go. Step 7, we're going to add our liquid to the jar. So we're going to pour in our salted vinegar brine, and then we're going to pour in our rice water until it covers the greens. Get a little more in there. Now that's covering the greens. Step 8, we're going to make our fermentation weight. So we're going to take our rice, and it's still got some water in it, so I'm just going to pick it up and sit it in our cheesecloth. Because we need something to weight down these greens to keep them under the water. I'm just going to pour that out. So there's our weight. We're going to tie this into a bundle. I'm using cheesecloth because I don't have a nut bag. And I'm going to tie it up with kitchen twine. But if you don't have kitchen twine, you can use rubber bands. I can hear rice falling all over. We're going to tie that up. Now if you're using kitchen twine, I like to leave a long tail on it. I'm going to try and get that to spread out a little bit. I think I need it a little more. Okay. Just to weight those greens down and keep them underwater. Now I've got this long tail. I can feed it in here. Actually, I'll be able to get that out. I didn't need to leave the tail on. So there you go. Because we don't want the lid to be tight when we put the lid on. So we can leave the very tail hanging out the side of the jar. So I had forgotten a step. I forgot to put my herbs in. Normally you put your herbs in when you are packing the jar. I completely forgot, so I took the weight out, put the herbs in, mixed them all together with a spoon, packed them back down, and then put my weight back on. Now we put the lid on. I have my end hanging out, if I can find my end. There we go. Just get my end out a little bit. We're going to not put that jar on too tight because we're fermenting. So now we're just going to put the jar on a counter and we're going to let it sit for a few days until we get something we like. So there you have it. Those are the steps to make pickled mustard greens. Now, right back in that crock behind me, I have a batch that I started earlier this week so that I would have something ready for today when I'm filming. The difference between the batch that we did today and this batch behind me is made with Mizuna, which is Japanese mustard greens, and you can get those in Asian specialty markets. I've got some here. We're going to give them a taste. I think they're probably going to have to go back in for a couple of more days. That's garlicky. That is very garlicky, which I like. I think it does need a couple more days in the crock. I don't taste the hot pepper, so I probably didn't put enough in. Yeah, there's no heat. There's just a sourness of the greens and garlic, which, again, I don't mind. If you have to be around me in the next couple of days, you might mind. But that's pickled mustard greens, and I will see you next time.